so much for being here. Can I first we'll just go person to person, to describe why your background, if you want to share anything more about your background, and why you actually attended the conference that you attended. So we'll start with you, Tracy.
Sure. So as Heather mentioned, I'm an owner of just a sole partner firm. There's 4 of us in total. We specialize in e-commerce, so when I go to conferences, particularly XeroCon, you usually get an app beforehand and they let you know who's going to be presenting, what the sessions are, and which add-on solutions are on offer. So it's really important for me just to go through and really prioritize where I want to spend my time. In terms of why I go to the conferences, look, I was probably a late bloomer. XeroCon was my 3rd, and it's 99% networking and 1% content in my view. It's all about just putting yourself in front of people, making connections, and then really pursuing those connections and working on them for the rest of the year.
Okay, so basically I'm certified in all the software platforms except for I've never really been very interested, and until recently when they're sort of trying to play a catch-up game, it's now come under my radar. I'm getting my clients, so I thought, well, I'll have a look. The main reason why I actually tend to be absolutely honest is it was a family vote. My family decided that they were having a conference in Alice Springs. They wanted to make pleasure and business mix. So we got the caravan, which had to be made by the date so I could go to MYOB, otherwise we weren't going to buy it. And we took our caravan and we went to Alice Springs, Uluru.
You drove over there?
We drove 8,500 kilometres in 19 days. From Brisbane to Alice Springs to Uluru, Kings Canyon, over to the Devil's Marbles, the dinosaur country at Winton, Lark Quarry, and then drove home. So it was 8,500 kilometres in 19 days.
That was a big effort to get a tax-deductible caravan.
But hey, we're a mobile bookkeeping on wheels. But look, I mean, that aside, that was probably 80% why we went, and the other 20% was on being certified. So there you go.
Very nice. Well, to sort of extend on what Heather said, obviously I've sort of been selling cloud software for a very long time, and as the conference for QBC came up this year, I'd only recently joined QuickBooks. So as part of my obligation as an employee, I was told to go there either way. It wasn't an option not to go. But for somebody new coming in, it was like, for me, it was an extremely enlightening experience. I feel like these events, and I've obviously seen some of the other events that have been taking place this year as well, they are definitely based on content. They're very much based on the network of people that you can obviously meet, app partners that you can connect with, and I feel like, I actually, for my first time, I got a lot out of it. It was highly beneficial.
Thank you. What were the highlights of the conference for you, Tracy?
Probably always the highlight of the Xero conference is the features release. They very deliberately will sit on big announcements until the conference date. And what was really neat this year, which I've never seen before in my last 2 previous attendances, is they literally would announce, and I'll talk about the content in a little bit, and if you happened to be in Xero or on the product in your smartphone, it magically appeared, like the menu changed, which I thought was just pure cloud. Like, it would be very difficult for some of Xero's competitors to have done that. And so I guess to answer your question, Heather, I think the features release for me is number 1. And thinking back to other conferences, there's been some really insightful speakers that are not necessarily accountancy related that really caused me to have a few epiphanies.
Okay, so probably the highlights for me was the fact that I've only been to one other MYOB conference before. And what really impressed me was that they made a huge effort with the staff of MYOB to really connect with their partners and their certifying consultants. So in the past, it's pretty much been CCs, and if you're a partner, you're just the second-rate individual, is the feeling that a lot of partners have told me. But I was really impressed with this conference where they treated everybody like an equal. The other highlight I found was that they're recognising now there was 3 main points they brought out really to home. Because a lot of the bookkeepers who use and the accountants who are specifically Purple or MYOB are very much into the desktop. They're finding it very hard to actually do that move onto the cloud, where a lot of us here today, I think we've all embraced it and we're racing with it. They're still playing catch up. So they really pointed out that success, knowledge, and innovation are the future, and they're actually changing their partner process to be very similar to the other programs. They're setting up online learning platforms to ensure that everybody understands that as an accountant or bookkeeper, you can no longer sit on your laurels. You're going to have to keep learning and educating yourself. And because they understand that they're dealing with an audience primarily of probably about 65%, I think, from talking at the conference, who are very hesitant to move into the cloud, whether that be their clients or their rural, they're forcing gently by making it, if you want to get points, if you want to be able to have cheaper membership, if you want to be able to, say, give your clients better benefits, you're going to have to go to the cloud, and this is what we're doing to entice you. So that's what I found was really intriguing. They are definitely trying to push and change their culture from desktop to being definitely innovative and going onto the cloud.
Yeah, I think for me the highlights obviously sort of coming in was seeing the guest list of speakers that we had at QBC, the announcements that we launched for the 2017 final half of the year roadmap, the things that we had coming early, 2018. I feel like I got a lot out of it walking into an environment like that, being very new, seeing a really good synergy as well between bookkeepers and accountants. Everybody I felt like on the day was very much a networking event for both parties. And I like that, you know what I mean? There was no sort of second tier category of one or the other. It was very much that everybody there had the same goal. And at QuickBooks, we look at everybody that they are on the same playing field. And everybody sort of, they might do different jobs, but that's the sort of highlights that, for an outsider looking in, I thought it was fantastic from a cultural point of view.
Do you find many people are still on the desktop version of QuickBooks?
I do actually. So a lot of the firms that I have seen over the last 6 to 12 months in Brisbane, if they're not up to speed with some of the other cloud-based solutions, they still refer back and they say, is Reckon QuickBooks, is Quick in QuickBooks. So I have had that conversation, quite a few times, and I think that once you sort of explain the situation and sort of give a differentiator of my product is in the cloud, my product stays at desktop, and then these guys have now taken their own product, so you reckon one to go to the cloud, that definitely makes sense.
Mm. And I think with MYOB, they've actually brought out a free partnership option, haven't they?
Yes, that's what I was going to go into.
Okay, sorry. Now, as people are talking, please feel free to ask them questions. Sometimes we've got heaps of time and you've got opportunity to ask questions. Can I throw in one unexpected question? For the people who didn't attend, can you describe what attending the conference and what the conference physically looked like and what it was like there? Because I know they were all quite different.
Sure. Well, XeroCon is probably the disco club of the conferences, if I dare say. As I mentioned, I've been to 3 of them, and the vibe very much for the last 2 years has very much been, look, I'm not a rock concert goer, but everything's just big, it's brassy, it's flashy. So when you walk in, everything's just larger than life. There were over 3,000 attendees this year. Last year, from memory, they just sort of nudged 2,500. And the year before, I think it was substantially smaller, maybe 1,500. So, and we all pay for the privilege of going to XeroCon, which I think is different than some of the other conferences. And when you do the math, it is a major business just in the conference. We're talking multi-million-dollar revenue. So they've got a lot of cash to splash. So when you walk in, depending on the year, this year wasn't so much coffee at the beginning, but it used to be coffee carts, as you came in, and you're just plied with goodies. So when you arrive, my bag's over there, and I think a few others have had. We got a gorgeous Xero bag that retails in the store. So sorry, that's just tied on the side, but it's just what they call a messenger bag. Yep. Beautiful glass bottle, so you get some really lovely quality merchandise. They pretty much shoo you through the exhibition hall into the grand theater that sits, probably 4,000 or 5,000 people, even though there were 3,000 of us. And you've got a DJ literally on the front stage doing the DJ, and it's just boom, boom, strobe lights. Like if you suffer from migraines, you wouldn't last 10 minutes. And it's really quite overwhelming, but what it does, I love, is it just makes you excited, and it just gives you this surge of adrenaline where you just want to start dancing and meeting people. It really sets the tone for the day, and they don't disappoint from there. So you have an amazing, I don't even know what it is, but I'll call it a huge flat screen, the biggest I've ever seen, and they're continually pumping statistics and pictures and information about Xero. And when the presenters come out, it's very slick. I mean, it must be sort of rock concert level choreography. And then when you're in the exhibition hall, which is where you go to in between all of the speeches, you've got the playground, which they're becoming known for. This is the second year they've done it. There's a sand pit, there's a seesaw, there's swings. There's like a little mosh pit in the middle with big pillows that you can relax on. There's food and people everywhere. There would have been, there's a few Xero representatives here, but I'm guessing there would have been 300 to 400 Xero staff on hand to cater to your every need. So you feel like it's an expensive investment, but I've always left XeroCon feeling like I got value for every dollar I spent.
Well, Alice Springs, of course, was a little bit more intimate because they're talking about the success is personal. So what they drove to do is that when you came into the conference centre itself at Alice Springs, because they had their conference centre there, they were all wearing their Aussie ochre country hats, which was pretty nice. And on the welcoming night, as we went through, they had an amber python that people could touch. They had grey lizards. They had Receipt Bank showed up with the kennel, so everybody got to have kennel rides. So it was very Australian. But what I was really interested in was the fact that there was a lot of staff, a lot of MYOB staff, and it was quite reminiscent of MYOB, where they got out there, they talked to all their partners, they sat down and they had conversations, and they were, and you could see there was some more reserved MYOB staff, and they put a big effort to actually mingle and have more to do with everybody. So I was pretty impressed with that. And then basically when it came to their add-on partners and situations, they just had the same old, if anyone's been to MYOB, they have a room where everybody's like a circle, and they have the hub of MYOB in the middle, and then you're able to just walk around. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, it was very intimate because they wanted to make it more personal. They wanted everybody to know that they were valued. And then during the actual conference itself, there was about 300 to 400 people during the course of 2 days. But I guess the biggest highlight, which I found is different from MYOB, is they actually took everybody to an old quarry at the night of everything was all finished. And they got the buses, and they actually took everybody in the buses to a secret location. And the location was absolutely gorgeous. They had a barbecue, they had recognition for people that had been with them for 10, 20, 30 years. So even if they hadn't done all the sales, they were recognised for their longevity of their loyalty. So look, I mean, from that point of view, it was not as brassy and as over the top as what Xero was, but they certainly made it a more of a personal, intimate affair. And the speakers they had of Michael Crosland, which has been the most successful that they've ever had of any speaker, because he's a very empathetic, genuine man. And he just oozes that. So he makes you feel welcome. He went around and talked to everybody. If he wasn't into people, he was spending time with all the partners. And then, of course, we had Amanda Gore talking about mindset, helping everybody get into the cloud. It was actually a really good introduction to get everybody rethinking their goals. So that's kind of my sort of slant on it. It's certainly not as big and as overwhelming as what Xero does, but I think they did a good job this time of trying to make everybody feel as if they were valued.
Yeah, I think for QBC this year, for anybody that attended, we had it at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Very similar style of concept to the way that Xero did it, by the way that Tracy just explained it. Obviously not to the same scale. We had around about 900 attendees at our event. It's the first year that we had run QBC in Australia. First year, very successful year. We had some absolutely amazing speakers. Very similar concept in regards to that what we offered our partners, bookkeepers, that as a very first entry point when you walk into the Sydney Cricket Ground, you are ushered in. You got a very personalised bag, nice water bottle as well. Pretty much ushered through.
QBO for Dummies book. Everyone was given a free QBO for Dummies book. We need Xero to do that.
Then we're ushered in, and if any of you guys have been to Sydney Cricket Ground, it is very opaque about how the layout was. So we had an exhibition hall for all of our partners that were there. We had breakout sessions for where you could individualise your day. So, if there's particular things, if you wanted to go to a session based on value pricing, we had a main arena where we had incredible guest speakers. Steve Baxter is one. Presented at QBC as one of our guest speakers. Michelle Bridges was one of our guest speakers on the day as well. We had an amazing sort of interaction, followed up by the end of the event. In the evening, we had which Heather was there for as well, we had a fantastic kickoff party, with Latin dances and all the bells and whistles that you can sort of imagine. And it was a good day, it was a grand event. This year when we hold it, or sort of should say in 2018 when we hold it next year, will be bigger and better than our first attempt in Australia. And look, we hope to sort of double the size of attendees that we had this year.
Do you know where it's going to be held?
I do. It is going to be held in Sydney, and it's going to be held closer to the start of the year and also than the end of the quarter this year.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. Can I ask you, what lessons did you learn at the conference? Go back to you, Tracy.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so lessons learned from the conference. Look, I had a lot of epiphanies in this conference, and that's really why I love them. And a lot of those weren't about Xero. They were just about me as a business owner and where my business was heading and how much time I have available and where I want to spend that time. And a lot of those come out of the breakout sessions, which I know all the conferences do. So they, Xero offers, I think from memory they had 4 breakouts, and you had a choice of 4 different topics for every breakout. And I know a lot of people tweeted and commented, but it's worth probably explaining how they did it this year because it's really different. So the breakouts this year were literally, there were 4 different sort of, if you like, squares full of chairs and a speaker, but they were literally 2 and 2 opposite each other, alongside each other, and all of us were thinking, well, how is that going to work? Because when you're listening to your speaker, you can overhear the speaker there and the speaker behind you. And what they had you do is you put on headphones, and then you had like a little control that was dialed into your speaker, but if you kind of got a little bored of what your guy was talking to, it was easy enough to change the channel and look diagonal and listen to the next guy. So it was great for that. There's the acronym that floated around a lot of XeroCon I noticed was FOMO, which stands for fear of missing out. So for people that suffer from this syndrome, the breakouts were really well arranged because you could really, and then you get jealous because you hear people defying, and oh, you're looking over here to see what's going on, why they're having more fun than you. So in terms of how this question was, what were the really enlightening things I took away? The 3 breakouts I went to, the 2 probably that were most interesting to me was I went to your exit strategy because I'm in my 40s and already desperately dreaming of leaving my business and retiring. And I've always thought my business was probably worth a fair bit of money. I've spent a lot of time growing it. I've got 4 staff. We're doing pretty well, or so I thought. But I came out of that thinking, I've got nothing right. Because I think the biggest message I took away from that session is if you're not earning more money out of your business than you're capable of commanding in the market. Look, I know this isn't rocket science, but it was quite an epiphany for me. Then arguably, you've got nothing of value to sell, do you? So, I'm doing fine, but I think I'd probably earn a heck of a lot more if I was working for someone else. So that was quite an interesting, I thought, takeaway, and that I really have to develop passive income and super income before I can entice anybody into a partnership with myself or buying with my business. So I really enjoyed that session, and they featured a lot of people that had sold their businesses. And the other one I really enjoyed was called Millennials, and that one was all about the fact that in the next 10 years, millennials, which right now are people aged 35 years and younger, will represent 80% of the workforce. And as all of us probably know in this room, even if we're not millennials ourselves, these creatures think very differently to us. Sorry, I know there's a few of you in the audience. They don't ask their mother or their sister who's the best hairdresser in town, do they? They don't do, sorry. I'm talking like they really are creatures, and you're not at all. But you will be far more likely, if you're a millennial, to go to a social media forum to do your research. And so it was very, very a timely reminder about the fact that not only do you have to market to millennials, you need to employ millennials. You've got to have people of all sorts of age demographics in your business. And I've been very guilty of hiring little Tracy clowns, middle-aged 40-somethings with children. And so I'm really comfortable with those sorts of people because it's who I am, but it doesn't necessarily put my business in the best position. And in terms of the Xero side of things, I think that the big takeaways were, I think this conference was more feature-packed than it's ever been in terms of the announcements that were made, and I'll wait for maybe another question to talk about the detail of that. But Xero is kind of like, I'm a Canadian, so I'll use a snowball analogy. Xero is like a snowball, right? You know, it started very small. It was the David to the Goliath. It was very nimble. It was very agile and flexible. All of the things Amanda's talking about MYOB are very reminiscent of the early Xero days. That's what Xero used to be like. And as it's grown and acquired capital and investment and started to, I know it's just sort of starting to earn money now, but it's got no end of cash. And it's starting to really, really sort of show off. And Snowball is just getting more and more enormous in terms of the features. And it makes you proud. It makes you proud to be on the ride and a little overwhelmed at times in terms of the professional development required to keep on top of what's being released. But I guess those are my big takeaways.
Thank you, Tracy.
Okay, so for me it was more about getting certified, the process involved in that, but they did bring out quite a number of new points, such as bringing out the training platforms, making everybody understand, which we already know if you're using QuickBooks or if you're using Xero, we're already into the culture of the learning process, but now mine's playing catch up. They've actually got the platforms, and I played with that when I was getting the certification. Probably the biggest thing I saw, and it's no comment of derogatory at all to MYOB, is I got an epiphany myself that a certification, a pre-certification training that should have taken me only 2 hours, using the rural technology of the internet. Some places I discovered only just got internet December of 2016. It took me 11 hours using the internet in the rural community to do 2 hours of work. Now that was an epiphany for me. It made me realise, one, how spoilt we are here in the city areas, and the other reason why there's such a, well, I can understand why so many partners in the rural area are sticking to the desktop, because they have that reliability. They don't have the reliability of the cloud like we take for granted. You know, mobile internet, only December of 2016, and a lot of rural towns out in Queensland, which are big towns, don't even have that unless you're Telstra. So that was the epiphany that I realised, that there's actually a huge potential for all of us to get into the rural area once the government sorts out our technology. But we also have to understand that these rural individuals cannot hop on the cloud because they don't have reliable internet. So that was just something I picked up from trying to do the training from town to town. The other thing I found is that their partner program, which I'll go into more detail, is called the new Partner Success Program, which is completely free. So the MYOB members, partners, finally have an option where if they don't want to pay for the membership, they can go on for free and then gain points. I guess the other situation that they're bringing out to is that they had a situation called the Circles of Success, where they actually brought on different accountants and bookkeepers who are very, very successful. I mean, they've made huge businesses, not just small scale like mine or like Tracy's. And they shared their points of how they went about. So they brought out that you need to stay in front of the pack, which we all know. They said that you need to also holistically help and build relationships with your customers, because you don't know what they need unless you actually connect with them, ask the questions. And the last one they brought out was get a business coach network. And that was something that I was quite surprised, because I hadn't heard that anywhere else. Where a lot of them said rather than resisting bringing on specialists to help you and make you accountable to keep building your business, now's the time when you should really look at it. So that were just some points that I got out of it that I haven't got out before from other conferences.
Yeah, I think for me it was more so, obviously and being so new to the industry, it was more so understanding some of the sessions and seeing how far QuickBooks has come from where it started and where its heritage started, and obviously then to run our event for the first time in Australia with, you know, the amount of app partners that we now have in our ecosystem, the integrations to multiple different partners that we didn't have previously, and how far our product has come. And for us to be able to run QBC in Australia this year was a huge event for us. Huge in the way that, you know, we definitely have made our mark in Australia. A couple of years ago, we weren't at a space where we were, not in a competitive environment. I think now that we're definitely in a competitive environment for both, you know, accountants and bookkeepers. Some of the key highlights, I suppose, that I definitely got out of it was seeing the 2 motivational speakers. I feel like that was a great win for accountants and bookkeepers on the day. I feel like that was the sessions that were completely packed out. yes, they have their celebrity status as well, but their actual message that they delivered, I've never actually seen Steve Baxter present apart from being on Shark Tank. And his presentation was wholly and solely about where you start your business, how you grow, how you can integrate within the cloud, and obviously what that means, for millennials and entrepreneurs of the world now, and what that means for them moving forward. And the same when I watched Michelle Bridges present. Hers again was a motivational speech, wholly and solely about growing your brand, growing your business. And
I think there were sit-ups or press-ups or something involved.
There were, yeah. She got somebody out of the audience to actually put on a pair of boxing gloves and then do a hit session on stage. It was very good, and it's very much about, she was more so trying to get you to understand, that where you start is not where you're going to end. So for me, it was, a highlight of those two sessions. I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah, it was very exciting to see Steve Baxter. I don't know whether they filmed that and put it up on YouTube or anything.
Yeah,
But it was very interesting to see that
session with
contrast.
him and Rogue, I think.
Now, does anyone have any questions? I've got another question, but does anyone have any questions? Yes?
So you said that you had an epiphany about how you need to actually look at your business and somehow create, strategies, passive income, I guess diversification within the services that you offer. Have you thought about strategies that you potentially may implement to help your business? That's my first question.
Yeah. Sure, I can answer that. So I think about that all the time, and I, as Amanda had mentioned with the MYOB recommendation, I've got a couple of business coaches. I work very closely with Heather, who does a lot of mentoring for me as well. And I've really come to the conclusion if you want to be a jack or Jill of all trades, you're going to charge a rate that's indicative of everybody else's rate. But really the only true margin in accountancy, I'm a tax agent and have an accounting practice, is either through the pyramid scheme in terms of, you've got lots of minions at lower rates that you're earning a margin on, and the other way is niching. And so I've really spent the last year really heavily niching into e-commerce, and I'm really early on. And you've got to fake it until you make it. You're never going to be an expert until you get runs on the ground, and you're not going to get runs on the ground until you profess to be an expert at something you hope to be an expert at soon. But I'm getting pretty good at it, and it's for me, choosing e-commerce, I've got lots of sort of celebrities in the world that I can look to and learn from, particularly there's a mob in the United States that Heather's introduced me to that's just masters of what they do. And I hope to get to the point that one of the epiphanies I came away with is we closed our doors. We stopped accepting work about 3 weeks ago, and that was so hard. I've never done that. And Heather will tell me because she's tried to refer to work, and I've really realized that I can't.
I've been like, I've been
But I really want to, now that I'm at capacity, choose higher paying, niched, specialized work. And really that's not a unique message at all. That's really been a message from most of our peers and leaders in our profession. And even if you don't want a niche, I don't think you're going to have a choice, everybody, because there's just too much to know. And so, I had an approach this last week. It's a little off topic, but it made me really proud. It was a local radio presenter celebrity in my area that was had been referred to me, and I was really proud because I wanted to meet her. She's on television. But I don't do creatives. I don't understand them. They're very high maintenance from what I hear. They've got big egos. And I thought, do I want to take this person on because I'll probably just get depressed about the fact that I'm not meeting her expectations. And I don't really know her. So I referred her to someone that Heather and I know very well. And I got a message right away saying, why would you refer to someone? Like, why would... And that was an epiphany for me.
Yeah. And I guess my second question was about the millennials. And you said, eventually it will become 80% millennials. So how are you, attracting millennials to your business, to utilising the different ways they think to your advantage, 3, keeping them engaged and within the business, but also marketing to millennial business owners and trying to get them involved as well, I guess.
I've miserably failed at the beginning. I employ no millennials, although I've got an interview tomorrow with one. She just qualified, she's 34. And she's got a 6-month-old baby, and there's a whole story there too, very exciting there. But I don't employ any millennials, and I'm really bewildered about how I'm going to create a culture with 4 middle-aged ladies with children aged 5 to 15, how we're going to make them, and we're in the suburbs, we're not, sexy like the business. We're not cool. We're not the cool kids in town. So I really don't have that one sorted at all. I need to think about it. I think I need to pay well. I think once I become an expert in e-commerce, if I find a millennial that also wants to become an expert in e-commerce, I think that will be a real selling point. To answer your second part of your question about how am I going to attract millennials as clients, e-commerce is full of them. Full of them. And they speak my language. I'm a very quick thinker. I love technology. I like people that can learn at my speed. One thing I learned the other day, which I thought was really interesting, is if you try to teach someone, so I'm mostly a teacher, I do a ton of training, and let's say I sat down with, and I'm sorry, I'm stereotyping, but like an elderly gentleman that didn't have a lot of computer knowledge, and they're kind of doing this with the keyboard, and they're not sure when I say, right click and open a new tab, and they're not. That really drains me emotionally because I've got to completely change the way I speak and the way I teach, and I can do it, but I come out of those sessions and I'm just ready for a bottle of wine because I'm just so exhausted. Whereas when I'm with a millennial, and again, I'm stereotyping, there's lots of older people that do this too, we just pitter-patter, He gets me, I get him, off we go, and I can cover 6 hours of content in 2 hours, and I love that. That's my happy place.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So on to the next question. What were the outcomes of attending the conference for yourself and for your business?
Do you want to go the other way?
Okay, Chris. Go to Chris.
Sure.
What were your outcomes? You maintained a job?
Yeah, my job. No, I think the outcomes were, for me personally, was obviously the knowledge base that I picked up from the day alone. The amount of sessions I attended and the knowledge that I gained on an individual day was absolutely fantastic. I think for small businesses or for firms that came on board that day, I think that there was a lot of takeaways. I think that we sort of launched a lot of new things in QBO as a product, not as many as some of the other players launched at their conferences, but we launched a lot of different changes and we showed a clear roadmap as a takeaway for the later half of the year as to what was to come. That would probably be the key takeaways from the day from there.
One of the nice things at your conference was they had huge posters of QBO people. And so people were like, I'm just a normal QBO person, and they were standing up against their posters. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Okay, so probably the biggest thing I took out of MYOB was definitely the disadvantages rural communities have when it comes to technology. But I also got very excited because it's something that I came to the conclusion about 2 years ago that I had to niche and I had to specialise. And so my business has been evolving with that. And I got very excited when I realised that I have time to actually specialise even further and then market myself and travel to the country communities to help them. So that was something I got very excited about because there's a whole market out there that at the moment they cannot come to us. They're just not able to. But in the next year or two, as the NBN rolls out, we're going to have a huge opportunity here to expand ourselves outside of just our little office. I mean, I'm doing that already. I do all around Australia and I have people overseas. But because I have girls who are university students come and do traineeships with me periodically, and because they're younger and they've got great ideas, they've given me so many wonderful ideas, and having gone to MYOB and understood the challenges they have, it's now made me even more grateful of what we have now being in the city. Probably the other thing was Amanda Gore talked about in her very motivational speech about your mindset, how your limitations aren't you, aren't the atmosphere, it's not the environment, it's your thinking. And there are a couple of areas when it comes to add-ons that I've been resisting. I sort of like to get into my little comfortable place, and you specialise in that. And I have my nice little circles, and I'm happy with that. But MYOB, because I didn't know many people, a lot of the people were strangers, I had to actually get out of my comfort zone. And so for me, Amanda Gore saying that you either have to start changing how you do things or the universe will do it for you and bite you. And that really resonated with me. So while it's not necessarily about the products, because MYOB is trying, but they're still not there with QuickBooks and Xero when it comes to the cloud side, in my opinion. There are huge opportunities there where there's a lot of MYOB representatives and consultants who haven't embraced it, and for anybody that's savvy, there's going to be a smorgasbord of clients and specialised areas where you can make good money and then also then build a business that's going to be something you can sell or you can actually step back and make it like I'm very much about Guy Kawasaki, getting out of the rat race, making a business that's turnkey. Or there's opportunities where if you do niche, you can turnkey, operate, step back, have somebody doing all the work, but still get the income. So that's something that MYOB helped me understand.
The biggest takeaway I took from XeroCon, and apologies to the Xero staff in attendance.
Okay, can't offend us, we've got broad shoulders.
I've become slowly aware, and look, the first statement is no surprise to anybody. Xero is a little bit of a cult in terms of we have our rock stars, we all speak a funny little language, we all sort of know who's who in the zoo. But what I've really realized lately, particularly in this Xero conference, is this has all been a highly engineered experiment in that, you know, back in the day it was cozy and chatty and you felt the love and you were retweeted and you were embraced and your blogs were retweeted. And over the years, as Xero has become bigger and more commercial, it's feeling more and more to me like this has been a very deliberate attempt to monetize an outcome. And what I mean by that is pretty much everything in Xero land has been free. And I'm as guilty as the rest of you out there in the audience in that I use Xero Practice Manager, I use worksheets, I use all of the Xero products, and I've had to pay no money for those whatsoever. And this year is the first year. There were a few announcements that were very subtle, but did not go unnoticed. But there was also a blog that a fellow, Heather, remember, it's Matt, someone, he writes XeroCon, the review no one else will write. It's the second year, it's a great blog. And what he's pointing out, and again, what I had slowly become aware of is, at some stage that golden tap is going to get turned off for us Xero attendees. And they're going to say, okay, we gotcha, you've got no other choice, you have put your business lock, stock, and barrel with us. And I've been very agnostic. I do support MYOB, but my practice is wholly and solely Xero, and I've made some good money, and my business is growing immeasurably, so I'm very grateful. But what Xero is now doing, and Matt pointed this out beautifully in terms of the add-on solution community, is they're now asking for their golden coin. Okay, so the releases they pushed out this year right now are temporarily free, but they will start to be monetized within a few months. And it's and you know, they released something called CC Engino for us tax professionals, which came in 3 tiers. One was free, but it was kind of like, I think he said in his article, he actually, was this Matt, that he had a little contest, or was this another blog I wrote or read, where, you know, he would Google, and the other guy would try to find the same content on IMO, and they'd see who got there faster, and the Google got one every time.
Yeah.
But you're paying, you know, at the highest premium subscription, something like $100 a month for this content where you become a little line and blows up and tells you some background. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm getting a little concerned that because I'm so committed to the Xero road truck show that all of a sudden, in a couple of years, that's going to cost me, say, $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month. And that's something that would become very unaffordable for me at my level. And you know, you're just getting glimpses of that now, and because I'm so committed, it is impossible. Like, literally, that word cult is very deliberately chosen in that you do wake up one day and say, "Oh my God, I've been brainwashed." You know, I can't leave. I've got no money. I've donated all my funds to this, humanitarian. So that does concern me a little bit, and it's made me realize, and Amanda, you know, is a perfect opposite to me in that she's chosen not to be agnostic, and she's certified in all of the different software, that might be something I have to revisit. Apologies, Zero.
No, thank you very much for that. I have been thinking that myself, but I think it's about putting all your eggs in one basket, and I kind of felt I did that with MYOB, and I was like, and now I'm thinking, oh, am I doing that with Xero? But I was thinking, I have an iPhone and my life is completely on that iPhone, but the next phone I get will not be an iPhone, and I'll be okay about that. It'll be an Android, because that's, you know, so I think there's technology, but you can move with technology.
That's a good analogy.
But then there's also the people that, like, I mean, I've got an iPhone, I've got an iPod, I've got a Mac Mini, I've got an iPad, I've got a MacBook Pro, like everything is. I think about going somewhere else, but it's too hard. Like, I see Xero as the Apple for accountants.
Oh, I'm actually meant that. It's a perfect analogy. So for those of you who have read the Steve Jobs book and watched the movies, even though Apple is very closed shop and Xero is seemingly very open with its API, there's so many similarities with the way Apple started And, by the time they got to iTunes, Sony was saying, we won't play on all of the other, and they just got totally frozen out. And right now it's happening with Apple iPay, with the ANZ's on board, and every other bank is at a stonewall with Apple about using your phone to pay. And Apple is demanding extortionate fees, and these banks are saying no, and I'm guilty. I've just gotten an ANZ credit card because I don't want to pay with my iPhone, right? Xero, I see so many parallels, just much earlier in that journey where they're going to be so dominant and so forceful, it's going to be their way or the highway, and that's a bit of a scary proposition.
Would you look to position, your business kind of now, obviously predicting that is going to happen eventually, but kind of shifting your business to be able to absorb that, but starting now instead of going, crap, now I've got to pay, and now it's kind of too late because I can't suddenly...
Well, apologies to the competitors, and I don't know QuickBooks at all, so I really couldn't comment, but I do know MYOB extremely well. In my view, Xero is the best value proposition right now for my clients. So to answer your question, I've got really mixed feelings about it. I'm really happy in Nicole. Still?
Yeah.
Still feeding me.
It's okay,
But I'm very aware, they might put me out in my bedroom suit, and I'm going to have to pay rent. And so I think that's why, as Heather has also said, you have to be across all platforms.
Yes. At the XeroCon London overnight, because we were all up watching Twitter overnight, weren't we? They said they had 40,000 developers working to connect to the API. 40,000. There's currently 650 apps in the marketplace, but 40,000. I don't know what that is. I don't know whether that's one app has 4 developers or something like that, but that's a huge number.
Yeah, and they've been very clever about that. So you guys know what I mean by this API acronym, which is, I guess, the code that both sides communicate. Xero went totally open, far more so than MYOB. I couldn't even comment on QuickBooks, but everybody was invited to play. But as Heather can probably comment better than me, they're closing up shop and they're putting businesses out of business now because they're either cannibalizing the product that they allowed people to play in the sandpit with, or they're charging such extortionate fees that the add-on is not mature enough financially to afford the fees. And so you're seeing a lot of just underswell, just right underneath the happy joy, which is at XeroCon, just right underneath that, there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on.
And I think everything's evolving so fast, people need to look at different income streams. People need to think about different income streams. You can't just go, here's an apple, pay me for it. People are, and I'm sure that that's what all of the accounting solutions are doing. Does anyone have any further questions? Does anyone have any questions? Yes?
Sorry, I just came in late. You might have covered this. So you mentioned that for you, Xero is just that much better than QuickBooks Online. What are your reasons?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say it in QuickBooks, just in that I've never used QuickBooks. So
you never? Can anyone sort of
maybe
answer
these two
the
would
value
be better.
proposition? Because people are always asking.
Yeah, probably not necessarily the forum for doing that, because we want to talk about the conference and the learnings from the conference rather than...
I was just responding to
let Amanda talk to you after. I just don't want it to be a comparison, because it could... We're trying to keep it as friendly as possible. Phil, as one of the... You attended XeroCon, didn't you?
I attended all 3.
All 3? All 3? What do you mean all 3? There's been 5, 7, 6.
Oh, okay, so all 3.
He means all 3 of these conferences.
Oh, you attended all of the conferences, did you?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, excellent. Would you, as an add-on solution app partner, like to share your experience from that position? Phil is with TAN, the workforce management solution, not the payroll solution. Would you like to share?
Absolutely. So the first thing was deciding which ones to go to, so we just picked all. But as someone who's more on the sales side, the decision process is basically, I'm going to get a return on investment on what is basically like paying for a car for a stand there. And after going through our first one, which was the MYOB, that was an insight. Realised that actually the dollar value of direct sales out of it isn't what you get at all. It's more about the vendor relationship, the ongoing relationship with bookkeepers, like the deeper planted seeds than just someone walk up and buy a product at the stand. So in that respect, I thought that the large outlay that you pay is an investment that's going back a couple of years, and we'll be back to all of it again. So,
Excellent, thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions? No? I know that I attended, as I said, all 3 conferences, and I gained huge volumes of work out of all of them. I walked through the door and bang, I gained a lot of work out of them. So I do think that they're all very beneficial to attend. So thank you so much for coming tonight and sharing this. This has been so interesting. We really appreciate it. So thank you to Chris, Amanda, and Tracy. Can I get you to put your hands together for them?